I'm Dr. James Hayes, and welcome to Healthy Pet Show on Old Fashioned Health Network. Every day, our pets bring joy into our lives, and we try to do our best to thank them by providing a safe place for them to live out their days. But did you know that the same place that you provide can also be home to dangers to your pet? Today, we're going to talk about some common household products that could potentially be harmful to your pet. Since we're here in the kitchen, let's start with some common foods. First, we have garlic and onion. Both of these can be potentially fatal to your pet, especially dogs. If they eat these, it can cause what's called Heinz body anemia. And what that means is that the breakdown products from when your pet eats these can cause rupture of the red blood cells, and that makes them incapable of carrying oxygen to your pet's lungs. Some things to look for if your pet has eaten either of these products are weakness and sometimes even pale mucous membranes or the gums. So that's one thing to look for. If your pet gets into either of these, it's important to call your veterinarian right away. Another food product that we often don't think of as being dangerous is something like dough. When dough is raw, as we know, it contains products that help it rise when we bake it. If your dog eats these, then the body warmth can also help rise this dough. And when this happens, it can cause an obstruction in your GI tract. Another thing to consider is that once it's in the GI tract or the gastrointestinal system, it starts to ferment, and that can cause the buildup of alcohol. And the alcohol can also cause some side effects, such as incoordinated behavior. So again, if your pet gets into dough, you want to call your veterinarian right away. Next up, we're looking at grapes. Grapes and raisins both can be toxic to your pet. And even just one grape or one raisin is enough to cause serious kidney disease. Sometimes it can be just a piece of a grape. We don't know exactly what the mechanism is that causes the kidney disease, but it's important to keep grapes and raisins away from your pet. Again, you may have had a pet that has eaten grapes or eaten raisins in the past and nothing has happened, and that's because the disease is not always consistent. So some dogs can eat a handful of grapes and they do fine, whereas some dogs can eat one grape and that can spell disaster for them. So again, make sure you keep your pet away from grapes. Next, we're going to talk about some artificial sugars. So first we're going to talk about gum and candy that is sweetened with an artificial sugar called xylitol. That can be very toxic to your pet, and what it does, it can cause two things. The first thing that you're going to see is that it's going to drop the blood sugar, and so when that happens, your pet can become very weak and lethargic. Another thing that it can do is it can cause severe destruction of the liver cells. And so again, if your pet gets into either of these, even if you don't see symptoms right away, call your vet to make an appointment or just go into your emergency center so they can start the process to make sure that your pet is not harmed. And next, one of the most common things that we hear about, especially around the holidays, especially around Halloween, is we have pets that get into chocolate. Again, this is one of those things where it depends on how much chocolate your pet gets into. When we discuss about really what are the potential side effects, we can see mild side effects such as hyperexcitability. Sometimes we can see vomiting, diarrhea. And if they've ingested a large amount or a very rich chocolate like a baker's chocolate with a higher percent of cocoa, then we can see that they develop neurologic signs such as seizures and potentially even death. So again, make sure you keep candy and chocolate away from your pet. Next, we're going to talk about something that a lot of us don't really think about, but very common are prescription medications, whether it's in your bathroom medicine cabinet, it could be in your purse, in the kitchen somewhere, but a lot of times we drop these pills, we drop vitamins, or our pets get into the cabinet or get into the purse, and these child safety locks, they're not effective against the jaws and the teeth of our pets, so they can get into these pills, and depending on what the pills are, we can have a wide array of disease processes or clinical signs that become apparent. So again, make sure you contact your veterinarian, and when you do that, make sure you have the actual drug and any pertinent information that your veterinarian may ask for. So it's always a good idea to actually have the bottle on hand with you. And then we're going to round things off with cleaning products and plants. So again, cleaning products, there's a wide array of them, and the clinical signs or the diseases that they can cause can range depending on the product, from just mild irritation to the skin, maybe the mucous membranes of the mouth. You can see salivation or potentially death. So again, you want to make sure that these products are kept out of your pet's reach, somewhere where they cannot get, but if they do manage to get into them, again, make sure you call your local veterinarian. And the last thing that I want to touch on are plants. You know, a lot of us have plants that are house plants. Sometimes we have pets that go indoors or outdoors, and they have access to the plants there. And then of course on holidays, birthdays, we get plants as gifts. One in particular, the lily, can be very toxic to cats. And cats are pretty notorious for being very curious, especially younger cats. They like to go around and just chew on things. So you want to make sure that if you do bring in any new plants into your house, talk with your veterinarian or do some research to make sure that these are safe for your pet. Lilies in particular can cause kidney failure in cats, and a lot of times this is irreversible. So you want to make sure that you keep your pet away from any plants that potentially can be a hazard. While we've discussed a number of items that could potentially be toxic to your pet, there are so many others to be aware of. If your pet gets into anything that you think might be concerning, contact your local veterinarian, or you can also contact the numbers at the bottom of the screen, and that's the ASPCA Animal Poison Control Center or the Pet Poison Helpline. Remember, you play a vital role in the care of your pet, and together with your veterinarian, we can make sure that your pet is a healthy pet.